Now, just before the announcement at the White House, and I was there in the audience, just like you are today, there was a small group of people here who were asked to come, behind the scenes in order to be able to meet the president. He wanted to thank us personally. And so I'm going to introduce a few of the people here, but this is Francis Collins, who's the director of NIH. He was the lead agency. Cora Merritt, who was the director at the time of the National Science Foundation. And this person here, who I'd never met before, I was talking to her, and finally I said, what do you do? And she says, I'm the director of DARPA, the R.T. Prabhakar. And this is when I realized that the White House is a great place to network. But then, as I was talking to her, I felt a tap on my back, and I turned around, and towering over me was President Obama. And I was completely flustered, I was unprepared. I didn't even introduce myself. All I did was to look up at him and say, thank you, Mr. President, and thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing a very interesting private story.
So we have time for a few questions.
Yes. 진행이 가능할까요? 네. 혹시 질문 있으시면 저희가 시간이 조금 있으니까요. 손을 들어주시면 마이크 준비되는지 좀 확인을 하겠습니다. 준비가 된다고 하네요. 혹시 손 들어주시면 저희가 도움드리도록 하겠습니다. 네, 앞쪽에 계시는데요. 저희 마이크 좀 이동해서 준비해드리면 감사드리겠습니다. 네, 중간에 두 번째 줄에 계십니다. 손 한 번만 더 들어주시겠어요? 네.
Why don't you have him come up?
Yes. We are going to hand out the microphone.
Oh, okay.
So, would you please use your service? 저희 통역이 좀 부탁드려도 될까요?
Dr. Selwski, I'm very happy to see you here. Actually, I bought your book already.
Oh, goodness, thank you.
Pre-ordered from Amazon. Read all of it. Thank you very much. It's whole history of AI and deep learning. It was great, wonderful opportunity to be awakened. My question is that now we are talking about AI, ML, and what is the future post deep learning? What happened? Research side is more discovery. Also, implementation side, as Dr. Kai-Fu mentioned in this book.
Very good. This is a wonderful question. And I just want to remind you that the algorithms being used today in deep learning were discovered back in the 1980s, 30 years ago. In other words, the advances that are made on the algorithmic side may take a generation before they can be brought out and translated into the real world. Now, you ask about the future. Well, the future is going to depend on the basic algorithms being developed today. Unsupervised algorithms, I showed you the example of GANs. There are others where you can take advantage of the fact that in the cortex there are streams from many sensory systems that interact and help each other learn. That's also unsupervised. And who is going to create those new algorithms? I'm not going to, I'm already too old. And I see in the audience that most of you are too old. But there are younger people in the audience, and you are the future. You are the ones who have to lead. You have to take what we've done and build on it. And I see that there's going to be steps like in 2013, big quantum jump, and then incremental improvements for the next generation. But you brought up my book. In my book, what I described was at the time, we were like these furry little mammals beneath the feet of the dinosaurs, right? The AI lab at MIT and Carnegie Mellon and Stanford, they had all the resources, all the money. We were just, playing with these tiny little networks. They were like toys. But if you believe that you have an alternative approach, then you have to basically commit to it and go into it for the long term. It's a long game that we're playing here. And if we just look for immediate returns, which is what a lot of companies want, and that's fine, But if you want to do basic research that's going to have impact on the future, 10, 20, 30 years from now, then we have to support the younger generation. And I'm going to do everything in my power in the United States, and I want to exhort all of you here in Korea to do that. Use your talent, the young people. They're the ones with the energy, the new ideas, and that's really my advice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your response. And why don't we have one more question? So
Okay,
from the
sure.
floor, it must be last question due to our time limitations. 한 번만 더 받아볼까요? 예, 중간에 계시는데요. 네, 손 한 번만 더 들어주세요. 저희 스태프께서 확인해서 마이크 전해드리겠습니다.
영어를 잘 못해가지고 한글로 하겠습니다. 한번 써.
He must speak Korean, so would like to deliver the receives. 네, 한국어로 편안하게 질문해 주시겠습니다.
질문은 간단합니다. AI가 신인간을 창조했듯이 인간이 AI를 갖다 만드는 것으로 알고 있는데, 그렇다면 이거 AI가 앞으로 새로운 종의 탄생으로 볼 수 있습니까?
Okay, that's a really hot question. And, you know, it's very difficult to make predictions, especially about the future. But I think that we should not expect to create the Terminator. I don't think it's in the cards. First of all, it has to be autonomous, and we're far from autonomous. These deep learning networks require constant care and feeding by humans, right? We have to feed them data. We have to test them and so forth. You know, the humans are autonomous, and that is a much, much more difficult problem, autonomy. However, I think what you can expect within the next decade or two is something from Her. This is a movie that came out a couple of years ago, and it was a movie in which somebody forms a relationship with their personal assistant on the internet, right? This is an AI, but this AI doesn't have a body, but the AI gets to know him personally, and they have a relationship, and and I think that's quite well within our reach. In fact, Alexa and some of the other intelligent speakers will get much more intelligent as AI gets better over the next decade. So I think that you will at least be able to talk to, if not another species, something, which has some of your intellectual capabilities. And it won't be a human, but it will be able to communicate with us through speech, through our facial expressions, in a way that now is not possible because we have to use a keyboard, right? And that's a very, keyboards, that's a technology that goes back 100 years. Now, come on, we're still using keyboards? And so that's going to change. It's going to completely change because we have interfaces now between humans and machines, which is much more natural for humans. It's more adapted to the way that we communicate with each other. So that's really where I think the near future is, exploiting that technology that we already have and can deploy in many, many, many applications throughout the industry.
Thank you very much for your answer, and I'm afraid that there is not enough time to have the conversation. So, ladies and gentlemen, we need another big round of applause.